bank results this morning. Always closely followed these, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. Earlier we had Switzerland's UBS reporting that its profits for the most recent quarter up by a third. We've got some more out as well. Let's take a look at those. Barclays in the UK saw its profits rise. Santander in Spain as well. That's for the first half of the year. But Barclays, it's worth noting that they plan to raise almost €7 billion in a rights issue. Now that's to boost capital levels, and shares in Barclays down around 6%. Meanwhile, Deutsche Bank said profits there fell in the 3 months to June. That's the cost of lawsuits and higher taxes denting earnings, and their shares in Frankfurt off by about 2%. Let's take a look at the markets in general here in Europe, and they have been on the upside, as you can see, as we saw at the start of yesterday's trading as well, up to around 0.5% in Frankfurt there, and some other data out of Germany. Seems like consumers are feeling a little bit perkier about things in terms of their consumer confidence. Anyway, that has risen up to 7 for August. Now, this looks ahead at what consumers will be saying. You can see that's up on the July figures. We saw a sneak preview there of the Asian markets as well. I can take you back to those and show that the Asian markets all managed to rise in today's trading session as well.
OK, let's go to Egypt now. Thousands of supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood, as we said in the news, are expected on the streets today. But our correspondents in Cairo have been looking at the tight control of the army over the economy. Now, they met one university researcher who's been trying to estimate the extent of its reach. And they sent us this report.
In a country where secrecy shrouds the military's economic interests, researcher ZEINA ABUL-MAGD was given unprecedented access to army-run factories.
They produce almost everything you could ever imagine, starting from pasta to olive oil to water, mineral water, to pots and pans, to kitchen stoves, to ovens, to cement, to steel and iron, to chemicals, to pyrosol, pesticides, to everything.
A few meters away is one of those factories. And the military also own numerous farms and businesses, as well as holding the licenses on vast swathes of land here. But a lack of transparency means no one knows exactly how much of GDP they control.
In my own estimation, it is no more than 10%. But if you add the control of land, the informal control of land, that maximizes it to doubles or multiplies it.
The generals say their budget is a national security issue. That's why they won't allow any parliamentary oversight. But some here believe it's so the military can keep their huge profits a secret.
This is one of the problems that the supporters of the January Revolution were asking for all the time, that we have to have transparency, especially in the economic activities, because these are not related to national security. So what's the problem in seeing what's happening there?
With the army now firmly in charge of politics here, their economic activities look set to remain above scrutiny.
Well, Catherine Stapley and Sonia Dridi reporting there. But let's get some of the day's company news now. And a name change is on the cards for European aerospace giant EADS. The company's board meets this Tuesday to decide whether to change its name to Airbus, its better-known aircraft unit. That name will cover all parts of the business, including defence and space.
Germany's BMW has launched its first mass-production electric car. Now, events were actually held in London, New York and Beijing as well to show off the new i3 model. The first car's due to go on sale next year in the US. BMW has put $2.7 billion behind that programme.
And the British oil giant BP said it returned to profit in the April-June quarter. The company made €1.5 billion after tax. That compares to a loss of $1.1 billion for the same period a year earlier. But shares down 2% at the open in London this morning.
Now, Matthew and Nick with the papers in just a second might have to do the rest of the bulletin on their own, because I've just discovered it's the last day of the sales here in France. I've missed them almost, but you've been looking at how things are going, haven't you?
That's right, and you know how tightly regulated the sales are here in France. They happen twice a year, very strict dates, so they're a very big deal. An important opportunity as well for retailers to try to make some money in these difficult times. Now, as you say, Stuart, at the end this evening, it's been a bit of a mixed picture. Now, things started pretty slowly. Do you remember all that bad weather we had a few weeks ago? It improved improved as the sun came out, and 8 people out of 10 here went to the sales, so they say, but they kept their budgets under control, less than 150 euros per person. Not enough to help textile industry, probably.
Too much. Can I go now then?
Not quite yet.
Have I got to stay? I've got to stay. It's time for the papers. Nick's here. So Nick Rushworth with a look at the